welcome back to A.R.'s Tales, aka the A.R.T podcast. I am A.R. and today I am joined by Maja book cover designer extraordinaire off Instagram. Actually, we met off Instagram, but do you have a Twitter?
No, I don't have a Twitter, just Instagram for my business.
Well, you know what? While we're at it, where can people find you? You know, what website, any publishing company you want to promote, if your cat has a website, whatever it is.
First of all, hi, thank you for having me. And currently, I don't have a website, but I'm working on that. Right now, they can find me through my email address, which is easier for you to put in the description, and through my Instagram account, which is m_design3, I think. I'm terrible with remembering my username. You can put that in this description also.
Yeah, without a single doubt. You know, I put the little banners and everything. I just like do it for the people that are like solely hearing and go on the podcast. But even then, I put that in the Spotify description and all that. So make sure to check that out. So you have actually done the covers for Lori, a friend of a good friend of the podcast. She's been on multiple episodes, and you're also a friend of Brittany, who has also been on the episode. Yeah. And one of the things that we kind of all vibed on is the love of artistry, of illustration. So just before we hit record, you actually were going into a nice little story about the start of your illustration. So could you kind of back up a little bit and tell the folks what it is?
Yes, of course. Well, I'm basically, I design book covers, but I try to make logos, and I just started learning illustration design, which is kind of, I have a little cheat sheet because I always loved drawing, and because of book cover design, I know Photoshop really well. And first few drawings that I did digitally, it was easy. I was just sketching and use references and things like that. But then I tried to do Medusa drawing. It ended up some kind of Venom character sketch design. I don't know how that happened. My brain just did, okay, we're not doing this, blank. And I was looking at some kind of Venom illustration, and honestly, I don't know how I got into that step. And that is what we talked about. Like, you can't plan stuff with art, and it just happens, and you have to go with it.
Without a single doubt. It's actually I remember it was like, I think I don't know, I think my fourth grade art teacher, I just got like really frustrated because I had drawn like this like really great thing, but then like the arms were just proportional. You know how little kids draw. Like I had like one arm that was like this and one arm that was like that. And then the teacher was just like, oh, you know, instead of like, you know, beating yourself up about it, just make it that's like a part of the character. He has one huge arm and like a regular arm. And I was just like, oh shit. And if I can be honest, I guess that's the start of like my writing career right there. Because it was just like the idea that it was like, oh yeah, I could just do that. It's whatever I feel like coming up with. And I even love the whole thing that you start off with one thing. I mean, that was what art drawing was my start. When I was, if you asked me what I want to do when I was a kid, I would have told you that I was going to get into comic book drawing. That was what I was doing. I just got into drawing. And I empathize with you so much when you talk that I can't tell you the amount of times I was like, all right, we're going to draw a cat with lasers. And then I'd end up with like a dog with a samurai sword. It would never work out. It would never work out, but not necessarily that it was bad. Because obviously, like as you draw more, your progress, your talent just grows. It's innate. It's innate. But I think there's something to be said about more imagination, you know? And like I think that is really what just like nurtures things. That you just start off with one idea and then I guess your own, I don't even know what it is. You're just like limited by your own ability. I don't know.
Honestly, I don't know, because usually even with my book cover design and drawing and everything, I start working and have an idea in my mind, and then I just kind of black out in one moment. And usually, if you even ask me what how I did something for some book cover or something like that, or my drawing, I could tell you kind of the steps that I did, but not really, because sometimes even I don't know what I did. So yeah, I have that problem with designing. I mean, it's not a problem because usually something amazing comes out of it, but you just gotta trust your artistic self and go with it.
This is kind of a similar idea to that Medusa thing that we talked about. I can't
I
even
love
tell
that.
you what this started as, and then it ended up being that like I hated everything about it. Like I messed up the chin, I messed up the nose, and I did it with pen. So I was like, ah, what can I do? Mess up the eyes, everything.
I
But
actually love it.
the way that but then I was doing it at a friend's house, and they just had all these crazy colors. So instead of like, worrying about how badly and poorly it was drawn, I was just like, yeah, I'll just mess with colors because I never color anything. I always like that black and white look, and then I just ended up going with that. It's unreal how like art seems more like what people can do, like even with the growth of contemporary art. I love going to museums, and especially Boston has like a huge like urban art like scene, and really art just seems to be what people can do creatively with what they have, you
Well,
know.
yes, for art, you don't need much. You can just have a piece of paper and pen, and it's amazing what people can do with just those things.
Without a
And,
single doubt, yeah.
and there are different styles and everything, and I personally love those kind of surreal drawings that are not made by the rules. Basically, like the eyes needs to be this distance, the nose this size, face symmetry, and things like that. I love those fantasy surreal things. That that is my personal preference.
Yeah, I mean, no, contemporary urban. I don't know if I've said the story on the podcast before, but when I went to Spain, oh, I said it with you, I think, like when we were talking on Snapchat. I can't remember, but when I went to Spain, we went to the Contemporary Art Museum, which was literally, I'm not bullshitting you, carved into a cave. Like the paintings were literally on cave walls,
That is
and
amazing.
yeah, and it was closed when it was rainy. It was lit only by sunlight, and it closed immediately at like 4 p.m. every single day. Like the moment the sun even was starting to set, they had to close up shop. And I can't tell you the amount of times I got close to like being deported from the country because I just couldn't stop touching the paint.
You're a rule breaker.
It's not even the rubric. It's just there's something about like I mean, I do it to like my paintings all the time, or just like any paintings anywhere, ever like everywhere I go. There's something about just like I don't know, touching. I feel like closer to the creator. I don't know. I
There
always
is
get
something about paintings and the texture of
yeah,
painting and everything. It's a different feeling. So
yeah.
I understand that, but I'm not going around and touching paintings in museums.
No, I don't know. There's something that overrides my like adult brain when I'm at that thing. I just become like a 2-year old. I'm like, nah, you got to do that. You're already here. It's worth it.
It happens. We all have those moments.
Well, I guess that kind of goes like hand in hand because I love, even though I don't really do it as much anymore, I love hands-on art. Like I love woodworking when I did it in high school. I love like working with clay when like my friends would just buy a thing of clay and I would be able to mess around with it. Paper mache was awesome, like in third grade or whatever. Um, do you think that translates to anything that you do?
Well, I honestly can't remember the last time I touched clay, but I loved playing with those kind of things that you can shape it with your hands to see it. But for me, it's a little bit different because it is just me and my computer,
Mm,
and I do everything on it, and just like not typing away, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
So it's not that hands-on, but I know the first time that author sent me a book cover that I designed,
Hmm.
and they sent me their book, and I know that I was holding the book, and I was like, I I can't believe that I did this.
Hold it up. Show it
And
up
it,
for the people.
well, there are few. This is for lovely lady Melanie From.
Awesome.
And for this part, she made the drawing of that kind of icon, fire, and I drew it. It made it like that. This is for Temperance Dawn. We have Lavender Ocean and Obsidian Throne.
That one is nice.
Uh, Kaylee Hargis, I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so sorry, but Royal Bond, that is for
That is a
this
sick one. It,
series.
it reminds me of man, I just saw the cover. I think it's called like Lady of the Damned or something. God, I can't remember. It's an it looks like a retro. I don't even know what to call it. It's just an awesome look.
Kaylee actually had a model for this cover, so she produced a female character's photo, and we used that. This is for Renee Dugan, the original Star Chaser saga covers, and the other I did for her, and how we actually started gotten in contact. And one of my favorite covers, the Chaos Circus.
Oh, zoom into that a little bit. Bring that in. My God.
Yeah,
Wow.
this lady, Renee Dugan, is actually one person that encouraged me. Everybody wanted me to make an Instagram account and work through there and things like that. But she posted on her Instagram my the cover reveal,
Hmm.
and she was like, "Can I tag you?" And she tagged me in my personal profile, and people, other authors, started following me, and I was like, "Well, okay, I will accept the request, but for follow, but like you will just see my selfies or my personal photos, and that doesn't make sense." And then I made my uh, business profile, and it's crazy how much it has grown, and amazing people I met through there, and it's kind of basically crazy and overwhelming. I mean, I'm guest on podcasts and having interviews and things like that, which I never imagined in my wildest dreams that will happen. So it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the Instagram community really does just like widen your exposure, your audience, and not only that, but just like the community of peers that you have. I can't. I mean, just I'm a pretty reserved person. It's crazy that I now refer to people online that I've never met in my entire life. And believe me, I'm not that type of person that like would like I've never. I didn't have social media prior to starting this little adventure right here. I did not. And it's crazy now, like, 6 7 months later, I now refer to these people as my friends, people I talk
I
to.
understand that.
If I have an issue, I'll like generally be like, hey, I just ran into this like plot issue, like what do you think? And really it just like opened my mind to like so many things, just like what communication can be, or just like I don't know. I guess it's just like so interesting, old dogs really do learn new tricks.
That is true, and I totally understand what you mean, because some of the best people I ever met, I never met them actually in person, and it is just amazing. And like you said, you weren't big on social media. My private profiles were always like closed, nobody can see anything, and there still are, but and I could never believe like in online friendships until I made my business profile and met amazing people and so supportive and everything. And it is just crazy what just social media can bring us. And I personally love it.
Yeah, I mean it's unreal. So
Yeah.
I want you to walk me through the process. Tell me, so an author contacts you.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. I'll let you tell
Well,
it.
first of all, I of course ask them about their book, what if they have an idea for book cover, and things like that, what their book is about, if they have some specific photos, if they want me to use. Are they okay with me using just free photographs that are free for commercial use, or if they want, or if they're okay with ones that need to be purchased so they can use it for commercial, for selling and everything in their cover. And I send them a list of the details that I need and my style of work, because I usually see what they need me to design. I make a few sketches, and usually even if they have their own idea for book cover, I make something that I think would work, and then after that they choose sketch they like the most, and we just go from there with revisions and everything to make them basically perfect cover for them. And of the details they need to send me is text that goes on cover, size, page number for paperbacks, because spine of the size of the spine, and maybe some examples of covers they like, just so I can understand better what style they like the most, and we just go from there.
So do you use any references? Like, do you think there are any golden standards of like cover designs that you've seen before?
Well, I think there are some, but I think every graphic designer has something that is important for them. Like what I always keep in mind is that title is very visible, and all of the tags that is easy to read, especially the blurb on back cover, because if there's too much or not easy, it's hard to read, which is not a good thing. And then depending on the genre of the book is that is in, I mean, you, for fantasy there is some style that you have for fantasy books, and if it's adult, young adult fiction and things like that, there are some rules to follow. But as everything else, this is art also, so you have some space to break the rules.
Man, I like that so much. Just the passion behind art. Like, how do you sit down with the actual program that you're using? Like, how do you go through the cover? You sat down with the artist, you have a general idea of theme, of uh, setting and whatnot. How do you go through revisions? And also, one thing I guess for my own curiosity is, do you do like a filtering after? Like when everything is done, do you put it through different filters? Because I've been blown away how just that much, just a different lighting and just like brings out different colors and tones different ones down. I've been, I'm not a photographer or anything like that at all, so that has opened up a new world for me.
Well, first of all, I'm not going to tell you all of my secrets, because then I would be out
Okay,
of my job.
very well done.
And I'm not okay with that, because I love doing my job. But one of the things that is really important is uh, using good photography, good photographs. And by that, I mean good lighting and everything. Yeah, that is great. But what is more important for me personally is the quality of photograph. So it's not small, it's and things like that. I won't bore you with those details. And usually, when I get book description and things like that, somehow the cover that I would like to make just shows up in my mind, and I just open Photoshop, open the size that the cover needs to be in, and I just start working. And there are layers and layers in Photoshop that are going one to, on another, and you just basically, it is like if you have a paper and you stack one paper on top of another, and that is how you make a book cover. And yes, there are filters used. even drawings and all of the other things.
Yeah, you see, because even for the things that we do, I don't use any Photoshop. Like I'm not, yeah, I'm not like versed with that at all. I use Inkscape, which is just basically I just transfer hand drawings onto like a digital format, do like a bitmap tracing of it, and then just like mess around and do like effects afterwards. I don't even do an idea of like layers. That's just like I don't feel like messing around with that.
Oh
Uh,
man, trust me.
oh no, I
Start
believe you.
using layers, because if you mess something up, you can just delete that one layer and it will easily erase something that you don't want to, or just hide it without having to redraw everything.
Well, hit Control Z, just go back. You know.
But sometimes there is Control Z doesn't work. You can't do Control Z as much as you can.
I'll tell you what. Inkscape is pretty awesome because it's kind of like almost like Lego blocky. You can just kind of move things around, but there have been a couple times where like you have to really make sure that you're clicking on what you're clicking. So like you'll click on the text, you have to make sure you're clicking on like an A, and by
Yeah.
mistake you'll click the background and move the background, and then you hit Control Z, and for whatever reason, because it's not attached to like anything in the background, it can't move back. There's nothing to Control Z, and you're there like you attach everything to that background, and now you have to readjust everything. Oh my god, things that
That
make
is
you
why
want
you
to
should
just
use
take your
layers.
laptop and just
Oh yeah, I really argue with my laptop when I'm working. I know friend was here while I was working and I started swearing and not really yelling, but almost at my computer. And she was like, Maya, are you okay? Yes, this is normal.
the worst one is with like editing a book. Well, not just even editing a book, just like editing, just writing in general. I can't tell you the amount of times I've sat down, and I'm pretty like lax about it. I could give a fuck, I'm just like writing. I'll be like, oh, I need to go eat. I'll just like put the laptop, not even like properly like close it, just like, oh, I'll work on it later, and like fall asleep, work on it in the morning after, and just be like, this is how it works. This is how life is, right? And then on like the eighth day of me doing that, it just like starts up a little slow, and you get like that heart thing of like, oh my god, did I just am I about to lose 60,000 words? And you get that little bit of thing of like, wait a minute, I have a lot of motivation. I don't think I have motivation to continue after 60,000 words. I don't think I can do that.
I had that with Photoshop. If it starts working just a tad slower, and I have because I went to high school for graphic designer,
Oh,
and
cool.
uh, where we were learning Photoshop in that classroom, we had on the wall Control plus S, save,
Oh yeah,
drawn
every like
big.
3 minutes, but you always
Yeah, and
forget.
I always do that. And if I did somehow forgotten to do that, and Photoshop started working slowly, my heart is just like, am I going to die now?
Yep. There was one day that I got absolutely saved. That it was one of those times that I got sick. I was like at the end of doing because we talked about the graphics that I did for the book and whatnot. I don't know if and I was going through them one day, and I think I was at the last. I was at the end of the marathon. I had finally fit. I was at the last like two or three, and I had knocked it out that one day, and I was like, awesome. I had all three files open, and for whatever reason, like I said, I was at the end of the marathon, so that means I was beating on my laptop the entire time, right? So I had these final three files open. I go to like save it, and then my computer just kind of freezes, and then blue screens. I come back and there's no record of the savings. Like they didn't get saved. So right there, I was like, oh my god, there's like a week of work. Those three graphics are done, and I'm already having that idea of like, yeah, I don't think I have the motivation to continue. I think I'm about to omit these three graphics and just cry about it. That's gonna be the end of it.
What can you do? Like
Yeah,
you can
what can
only
I
just
do?
sit and cry.
But then I googled it heavily, realized that the software had an autosave feature, but the auto saved to like a weird file. I found the weird file, found the auto save like a 1 minute before the blue screen, brought everything, found got everything, made sure to save everything. Because it was exactly
I'm
how you said.
actually so happy for you because
Yeah,
you found that.
because it was exactly the opposite of what you said, right? Because what it was is that I had gone through, 2-3 days of work without ever hitting Control S, just 100% reliant on my computer like an idiot, and just like control, like
And
just
you really
working,
love
just
you love
working.
living dangerously.
I know. I'm telling you, it was so stupid, and I couldn't tell you how. It was like I'll tell you like what, because I just did my taxes. It's like thinking that at first you owe a whole bunch of money, and then realizing they actually owe you some money, and you're like, oh, thank God. Oh, thank God. It was that exact feeling. Like I'm telling you, I got like sick. It was like any movie you've ever seen where like the protagonist, it was like a rom-com and like the 50-minute mark after they had the big fight. And the guy's just walking around like, dun, 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 dun. It was just like that. I felt all the feels at that moment of like, oh my God, I lost it all.
You those are some of the things that I guess only digital artists or writers or whatever understand. Like that moment
Yeah.
when the program freezes and then in some cases unfreezes on its own, and you're like, okay,
Oh, thank
I'm
God.
having a will to live again. We're good.
Oh my God. And, like it's actually really interesting because by definition, and I guess it kind of ties into like the whole reading aspect of it too, right? Because we both have an aspect like a love of reading.
Of course.
But uh I guess in a sci-fi element, we have already become cyborgs, right? We have like an over dependence on a third-party technology. That's by definition a cyborg. You know what I mean? For
Yes.
work, for professional things that we both work on, we are reliant to a computer. This podcast is being streamed to you via my computer. Like everything is just reliant on this third-party technology. And even me, a huge conspiracy theorist, and just like a complete nut in that whole thing of like an on and they're after me. But it's undeniable, And my favorite thing about it is that it's almost gentrified all ages, because like what did people say like only 20 years ago? They would be like, oh, those kids with that new technology are going crazy because the Xbox would come out, and yeah, a couple adults would buy the new Xbox, but mainly it's a product designed for kids. Like new technology was always
Yes.
aimed at kids, right? Unless it was like a new car or some shit like that. But now the way technology is that everyone is always on the latest technology. If a new iPad comes out, it's not just for kids. Everyone is buying that. A new iPhone comes
Everybody
out,
is using it.
yeah, it comes out thing. Same thing for social media. Like no one can say, "Oh, those crazy kids" anymore. Or when I do hear people say that, I always correct them. It's like, wait a minute, you do the same shit. What are you talking about?
Well,
Okay, those
yes.
crazy kids aren't on too much on social media. You're on
Yeah.
social media. What are you doing right now?
No, I mean, social media and technology and everything is amazing, but if you know how to use it, like I'm, we are talking right now from other sides of the world. How crazy is that, actually? you know, and just like if you can talk to other, it doesn't have to be on other side of the world, but like uh, my father is out of the country, my sister is living in another town, my mother also. Just takes one call and I can talk with them in a second. And I think that's
Yes.
amazing. It keeps us connected.
Yeah. I mean, it's just I kind of I guess it's the reason I love writing, but it's like my favorite thing about like humanity, in that our technology increases so rapidly while we just stay so stagnant. So I can imagine that the same way that we can sit back and be like, oh, iPhones are evil, but they're awesome because we can do that. I'm sure people do the same thing when like telescopes came out, or
Yeah.
like when like a new faster boat allowed them to take them across the world instead of only across a river. It was just like, I
Yeah,
was like, oh, this is
I
too much,
agree.
you know?
I agree. They will always be those kind of people that are like, oh, this new technology. Oh, please. It's great.
Yeah, I
At least
guess.
I think that personally.
Well, I guess it's like I think that everybody can agree, even the people that naysay it can agree that it's awesome. But I guess it's the reality that everything has like a duality to it. Like because without a doubt, boats are awesome because they open up the world, but it also open up the world to like colonialism, and like all the horrors that brought, and like the Crusades and all that shit. But I mean, would you really want to live in a world where we didn't all meet each other? It's kind of like,
No.
yeah, it's kind of like, like everything has that like good and bad, and I don't know. Again, it's the reason I write. It's just like so interesting when you look at anything. There's nothing that's like definitive. Everything is like for the
Yes,
most part questionable, you know.
which is it is basically like art. Like maybe I love this book cover, you might hate it. The third person will be okay with it. The fourth
Yes.
will be like meh. You know what I mean? Everything is subjective, and always people will have their own opinion about it, and that is just how life is.
Yes, right before we recorded, we were I was talking about how much I love museums, and it goes into the point you just made perfectly. Because it's one of my favorite things to go to some museums with like people that don't like going to museums. Because I'll sit back and I'll be like, "Oh, look at that! The way that X, Y, Z and da da da," and they'll just be like, "All right, yeah, but it's just a flower." And the thing is that like I can't even get like like up my nose like they're like I'm right and they're wrong because they're right. And at some in some light I'm right, like we're both right. The whole thing about art is like your interpretation of it, and like I don't know,
Yes,
it's just my
how it
favorite
makes
thing of it.
you feel,
Yeah.
and that is all. One of the things that I really love about my job is the how I feel the authors and my clients get happy when I send them that final revision and they before they okay it, and how much they love it. That feeling that I get after that, it's
uh,
addicting, and it's
yeah.
the most amazing thing in the world. Like I made them happy. I give basically a face to their book baby.
Yeah, I just had like my first feeling of that for James McGrave. His episode's actually coming out this Monday, and it was just, again, it was one of those things that like it was amazing. If I can be honest, I also feel it just within my own book itself, just like the idea that like as again before I hit record, I never thought of getting into writing, you know, and just like the idea that like this crazy idea that I had, that it was purely just for sport. I thought of it just for fun. And now in a couple months it'll be a thing I'll be able to hold the same way that you get to hold like the pieces for these artists. It's just
Yeah,
uh and the most beautiful thing, and I'm sure the artist feels the same way, is it really does feel like such a collaborative effort. Because for as much as I didn't sleep and did all the crazy enough to get the book out, I couldn't have done it with the people that helped me out, the fellow artists. I wasn't the only artist that worked on everything that we do.
I
And
totally agree.
yeah, and I mean it really blows my mind. There's nothing more than I love than art. I mean, the paintings behind. I mean, just I'm a huge geek when it comes to art. Like I'm telling you, when in college we had free admission to the museums around Boston, and there were three within walking distance, basically, and
That's
I would hit
amazing.
them up weekly. And uh, not only that, but on Thursdays, on like different ones, like for example, the MFA was every third Thursday of the month, and then I think the Isabella was every like first Thursday of the month and whatever. But they would allow people to come in 21 plus and like drink, and there would be live music, and you could walk around with your little wine seltzer, your little whatever, and you could walk around and like talk about art. It was my favorite thing ever. It was
I
awesome.
believe you.
Yeah. Uh, it's
That is amazing. I would
yeah.
actually really love to visit it one day.
My favorite is the ICA. The ICA is the Institute of Contemporary Art. So it's more like student based art, but it's like top of the line students. I mean, like this is where people go for like contemporary art. And just the exhibits they have there are just unreal. There was one that he had an entire basically a room, but like upside down. So like you walked and you were walking with like a ceiling, like a chandelier that was like that, like where that's where you were walking on, and you
Wow.
looked up
Yeah.
to like the TV and a couch and everything, and it was like suspended by uh like it almost looked scary to go into because it was suspended by like things that look like newspaper, and like the whole point that he was trying to make was that like the whole of, well, again, how I interpret it, because that's the beauty of art. It's the beauty of writing. No one get There's not a cheat sheet at the end. Oh, this is what I meant, and oh, in paragraph 3 chapter 2 I meant I wrote this, but I meant this. There is no cheat sheet. There's none of that.
The
So
curtains are blue.
exactly. Oh, Dr. Seuss. You know when I talked about the fish in the blue, that was really a commentary on socialism and none of that. Nobody does that. That's something you get if you meet the author 20 years later at a bar, you get them drunk, that's when you find that answer. And I'm not saying you should go and do that. I mean,
We will see.
I'm not, you do
Who
it to me, I'm
knows?
going to do it for you. I'll be honest with you. I'll give you that cheat sheet. You find me, you get me drunk, I will 100%, whatever you want.
Okay, we will make a deal. If I ever come to Boston, you will take me to museums, and I will get you drunk to get all of your secrets about your books.
Oh, listen, you'll read book 2, and I'll tell you about book 12. I'll be the guy, listen.
Okay.
But I introduced this character in book 3, but then he dies in like book 7. But he's talked about in book 1 though. I'll tell you. I'll drop everything. Like, because the thing about it is that when I get, and I'm sure you feel the same way when it gets to like artistry. I mean, and honestly, we already talked about it because you have like this final idea, and then you
Yeah.
start writing, but then the hard work is all the middle, right? How I write is that I get like the huge overarching idea, and then the hard part is kind of going into the finding out where the middles are. So like I already have plotted out the end for like however many books ahead, and the hard part is like making sure everything kind of lines up to that final goal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand. Basically, for me, art writers are magicians, and honestly, I have no idea how all of you do it.
if if we're magicians, I'm a horrible magician. I'll put a rabbit in a hat and I'll pull out a rabbit. I'll be like, what the hell?
That is not for you to judge.
I mean, I'm just pulling out the same rabbit. It's like, well. Be like,
Well,
well, the
rabbits are
magic
cute.
is his face. Because you see, the first time he was like happy, and the third time he's like, all right, dude, pick a different
Okay, you can
profession.
stop now.
uh, well, I think that kind of segues into something that I want to ask because I think we might share a similar like of entertainment. Like, what is the thing outside of books? Because we're definitely gonna get into books in a second. But what is the thing that you've most recently like watched, like a TV show that has just blown you away? Because I really think writing in TV shows is like the new age, you know?
I actually have 2 episodes left of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Let me tell you, that last
Don't
episode.
tell me
No, no,
anything,
no, no, no.
please. Like,
I'm a huge non-spoiler person. I will never do
thank you.
that.
Like, I know I was watching it
But when
and I
Black
was
Panther comes out in
Snapchatting my
episode 4, oh my
friends
god, I'm kidding.
and raging and being happy and deciding that Bucky really needs a hug. And
I'll tell you right now, there were certain points of it that felt almost ham-fisted to me. Like it was like, all right, I get it, Marvel, you're trying to be woke. But I gotta tell you, those last 2 episodes really sew everything together. It was like, oh my god, no, yeah, they did it. They did it
I know
perfectly.
what I'm going to do tonight.
No, I was look. I'll be completely honest. I love the first 2 episodes. I can't remember what it was about the third episode and the fourth episodes that I was like mad about. They really got me with episode 5 though. Like, oh no, no, I feel like they got me a little bit early. I think I'm being too critical. I think I liked every episode. I just maybe didn't like one scene. Because just thinking about it, just everything. I mean, the what John Walker, I believe is his name, right? That's the Captain America, like the new Captain
Yeah,
America. Yeah,
I was
that
so bad.
that character. And you know what's and this actually brings up a great topic that I love. There was somebody commenting. Well, somebody on Reddit was saying that the set designers, which again goes into artistry, right? The set designers, and actually it leads in perfectly into what we were talking about before, that really everything is a collaborative front. It's never just the actors or like it's even the things that you don't pay attention, like the people designing the costumes that really put like a huge emphasis on everything. Even the people holding the booms and like the cameras and doing the lights. I mean, they have a huge effect on everything, right?
Of course, but
Huge.
just with book covers, you think I would be
Yes.
able to do anything of these without getting feedback from authors, clients? No, because I can make them a sketch with my idea, and their feedback is what makes this the end result. It's everything is like working together, and that is all.
Oh my, I like it opened my mind to a different degree when I read the comment because they were saying that the set designer specifically designed John Walker's helmet to be reminiscent of Red Skull because they wanted you to dislike him from the jump.
I didn't like it. I
Like,
like Captain America, but he's not my favorite character from
yeah,
Marvel
definitely.
universe.
Yeah,
But like,
I like Wanda. I'll
you
be honest with
can't
you.
just replace someone. That was the biggest issue for me. Like, there is a reason Captain America is Captain America, and that's it.
No, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, just like everything, like I said, the way that everything kind of gets just like sewn together in the last two episodes. I mean, just a commentary of what they were talking about, how Captain America was able to do what he did because like he was kind of like the quintessential American, you know, blonde hair, blue eyed,
Yeah,
and how like some of his nobility might have been lost in that thing that he was just a stereotype, and then like just like the thought of him giving the shield to, it was like saying it was like, yeah, this isn't a thing about like look, it's a thing about nobility. It's like I think you as a person are ready to like
spoil it to me.
what happened.
Please don't spoil it to me.
Oh no, because it was the whole thing of like because I'm not even talking about Sam. I'm still talking about John.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Because it was like the idea that like it's not like a title, it's more of something like of like a nobility thing. You know what I mean?
oh,
Like they are noble. The only thing about John is that like his nobility was also tied into like pressure. You know,
yes.
it wasn't just a thing of like wanting to do good. It was also wanting to do good and like by the people. You know what I mean? He just
And
had like a lot of pressure on him.
he said in one episode that people are expecting him to be something or something along those lines.
Yeah,
And Captain America was Captain America because who he is as a person. And he lived by that and he stood by that. And that is why he was hope for people. You can't just start acting like that and be new Captain America. Come on.
I mean, again, that's like why like I think the show is just like had like just like those beautiful little hints of things and just the way that it got into the characters, into the anti-heroes, the way that it kind of like pulls you in and does it the whole like emotional aspect. And I think that it kind of ties in well into the next thing that I want to ask is like when was the first time writing ever woke you up to that? When was the first time you ever read or even a TV show like
Oh man.
that you woke up and it was like, oh, okay, this is actually like the person like a person wrote this and like specifically aimed to make me feel this way and they succeeded.
I actually got in my love of reading because of Harry Potter.
Mm.
And I like the first two books, but the third book, Prisoner of Azkaban, when Sirius, who is my actually favorite character from there, uh, talked about their uh, Myra Uders. I don't know how to pronounce. Uh, Harry's dad, Sirius, Lupin, and Pettigrew.
Oh, the Order of the Phoenix.
No. In the third book, how he talked about the everything that happened when they were in school, how they are Mooney and Padfoot and everybody else. That part in Tricking Shack. No, I don't know how to pronounce it in English.
Damn it. I actually never read the
It
Harry
was
Potter books myself.
it was before Lupin started transforming to a werewolf under that
When they're in
healing
that
tree.
forest.
No, they were in Forest after.
Damn, but didn't
Before
he
the time Turner, when Sirius was explaining to everyone that
Azkaban?
Pettigrew, yes, in
Okay.
Prisoner of Azkaban, when before uh, the before Scabbers was outed as Peter Pettigrew, that
Man,
story Sirius told how he was his father's best friend and everything.
okay. I understand. So, what was it about that story that kind of like reeled you in?
I don't know, I was just touched by it, and
Mm.
that thing that not everything is how it seems, and I actually really love that movie and that book and that whole story where Harry gotten to know a little bit more
Hmm.
about his father and mother, and you know, maybe that part that he was actually not alone, that
Hmm.
he has Sirius as a godfather and everything looking out for him, even if that didn't last, but still, maybe
Yeah,
that
that's
part.
yeah, that is a pretty cool. Huh. Well, because it's actually funny you brought up Harry Potter because I started my writing kind of like game scene thing on Reddit. So like there were a lot of people that there was I think there was like one forum that I hopped on or like one post that was somebody was saying that they should really make a Harry Potter TV show because the movie very specifically omitted a lot of like the lore and the world building that
Yes,
R.K. Rowling got into, and they were talking about how like it would be a perfect format for a TV show, and how back then it probably wouldn't have been popular, but now like a Netflix Harry Potter TV show would be like
that would
insane.
be amazing.
And what somebody was talking about was that very specifically that she isn't given enough credit for her writing. And believe it or not, they quoted, I shit you not, Prisoner of Azkaban, the third book of Harry Potter, as an example of like really good writing. And it was the scene that Sirius died actually, and it was how
That
she
was in
wrote.
fifth book, Order of Phoenix.
Was it all right? Well, I know for a
Yes,
fact it
in
was.
Ministry of Magic.
Well, who dies in book three? Because I know for sure that they reference that Prisoner of Azkaban.
Book three. I don't think anyone. They wanted to give Sirius, Ministry of Magic wanted to give Sirius so he can have the Mentor's Kiss, but then Harry and Hermione, with help of Buckbeak, saved Sirius,
Man, not
and Time Turner was used.
well. The worst part about it is that I'm talking about it, but I'm not even like a huge Harry Potter fan. My thing when I was a kid was Percy Jackson. That was like the book series I like
Oh,
geeked over. But like still the thing, and you know what? Maybe it was book five. I'm sorry, but the
possibly that is where Sirius died.
well, I know that it was a death scene, and the writing about it that like people were highlighting was that she wrote it almost like a throwaway. Like it was like that like Harry wrote like I think it was just like oh like 1 second he was there and then he just wasn't, and it was like oh he just died. And then somebody at first commented it was like oh that was like horrible writing, and then somebody broke it down and was like no because it was like written as a teenager that just
Yeah,
witnessed somebody like it like that's just as simple as it was. It was like he was blinking and now he's not, and it
and
was just
that's
like
it.
yeah, and then the thing just like continues on. It was like that is one of the things that actually helped me as a writer like so much because it brings back to especially like now with like the huge boom in like romance the genre and the erotica and everything is that people love getting into these like paragraph long like omissions of love. It's like oh I love you as much as the four shadows and all these things. And I mean I guess that's like cool and like some like fairy tale Disney way, but I always felt way more impacted in TV shows or in books where it was just one little thing, like in Star Wars, where Han Solo was getting pulled down, and Leia goes like, oh, "I love you," and he just looked back, "I know," and just like goes down. It was like right, it's like just I don't know. It's little things like that that I say just like speak so much higher. It's like the iceberg analogy.
No,
It's like you see a little bit, but it speaks so much louder to the character.
yeah, I agree. I mean, just connect it with real life. If someone told you they loved you and started telling you why, and it was going for like 20 minutes, I'd be like, why are you trying to prove that to me? You
Oh my
know, like
God,
just
talk about it,
say
huh?
it and get on with it. You
Uh,
know, even that is how like when people lie, they try to over explain
yes.
themselves and things like that. And
Well, I was at Mickey
someone,
D's at 4:30, and then well, I did this, and that's why
yeah,
I
and
I wasn't late, and I forgot your food.
that is why, like, if someone told me I love you because of your long hair, blue eyes, and I don't know, started like talking, I would be like, are you sure? Like, are you really sure?
Yes, yeah, that's why I think it's like so weird, but I guess like it's something that I need to always like remember. I guess it's like about genre, like people that
Yeah,
pick up a romance book that they want those long omissions, like they want that like fairy tale like Hallmark type of
and I
thing.
guess, I
But
mean, it works.
It definitely works. I
Yeah,
mean,
there's a reason why people are loving it, and I'm not trying to say anything bad about
oh,
romance
without
writers or
no,
anything.
yeah,
Sometimes even I love to read them.
yeah, a good,
So,
I'll sit down for a good rom-com sometimes. I mean, they're just nice sometimes, It doesn't always
well,
have to be
yeah,
about
because
gunfire.
yeah, sometimes it's just nice to read a book with a happy ending or something like that, and it makes you feel good, and that is all.
I always, I mean, weird side note, but I've always liked Forrest Gump a lot. Just like that little, like, just like that nice little thing. Even though that story is like a little more like tragic and then it kind of like ends nicely. I always like that story, just like a lot. I feel it was like a good thing. But to your point, like just in a personal life, I remember the first time that I ever truly felt like, oh, okay, this person actually like no bullshit loves me. Like it's not just like a joke. It's like I remember like the person came over and they got something for me that like I had talked about for like I can't even remember how months like how many like how long ago it was and they just brought it for me. And I remember I'm not kidding, like just like I don't even know, like fucked up past or whatever. I remember I looked at it, I was like angry. I was like, why did you do this? Like why would it what would commend you to do that? And she was like, cause. And then she didn't say like I love you like a loser. She was like, cause like you're like you're my guy, you're Angel. What's up? Like I got you like that. And I was like, and I, like I'm telling you, it took me back. I was like, what the
People
fuck?
actually do that.
I was like, yo, I'm telling you, people are nice like that. People think like that. Like it blew my mind open. I was like, and of course, me being the asshole, like, well, not even the asshole. It's just like I guess when because she laughed too. It wasn't like I ruined the moment. Uh, but like I always choose humor in like situations because like I get nervous. Know what I mean? So I remember I just looked at it, I was like, cuz I'll never do that shit for you. I was like, I don't know. I can what? This is another level. I mean, like, I rock with you, but this is too much. And we both
That
like
is the
laughed it off and
moment
whatnot. Obviously, I was
when,
lying. Obviously, I was lying. Obviously, I would do the same. But it's just like,
of course.
you get nervous. You're like, this is weird. I don't know.
Yeah, that is the thing when you have your sense of humor, or maybe even a little bit of a dark humor.
Definitely a
And
dark humor.
yeah,
Well,
me too.
hopefully, she
And
knew
like,
I was joking.
yeah, my close friends or my sister and everybody knows my type of humor, but not everybody gets it.
Oh,
And
no, I have a real bad one.
yeah,
And like, yeah.
I have also, but I can tell it while we are taping.
Oh no, man. Oh yeah, we can definitely share some stories because I can't tell you. I think that's all right. So my nervousness doesn't come from talking or like talking to people or anything like that. Like it doesn't matter the amount or whatever. What it is more of my mouth. That's what I fear. I fear we're gonna start hitting into some terrain that I'm gonna start getting my, like, oh well, let me tell you, because I already told you I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know what I mean? We start diving
I
into
love
that
listening to conspiracy theories,
exact.
actually.
Again, one of the reasons I love writing because it's like the thing that really I love the most about conspiracy theories is like why they develop. Like we have a really bad tendency just as like a society at this point. I don't think humans are forever going to be like this, but right now we have a tendency to automatically just call whatever side isn't our side stupid. So let's say that
Yeah,
you really like I don't know, long hair and I really like short hair. If I say, "Oh, you know what? I hate long hair." Immediately anything I say is wrong, right? And like you don't even listen to the other side. Well, I can't say you. I'm just saying like in
no, I know
general.
what you're
You
meaning.
know what I mean? Uh, but
And yes, I do like long hair.
oh yeah, obviously I'm lying. Obviously, like I really care about hair. You know what I mean? And actually, it doesn't show it now, but like I can. My hair kind of afros more than gets long. I always wanted long hair because I love
I,
going to like shows and like my dream was to always be able to headband. I can't. I just get an afro. It just kind of jiggles.
I actually, when I was younger, because my natural hair is something like lion's hair, and it's not
That's fine.
straight or
Oh yeah, I should get
curly.
a
And
perm.
I really wanted like curly afro hair, but now I'm just like okay with because how it's longer and heavier and things like that. It's starting to get more and more straight,
Yeah.
and I don't have to do much with it, and I'm just like, yes.
Yeah, I wish my hair was like that. Like mine, after it gets to a certain length, it needs some type of water or something, or it just, you know,
So
frizz is
that is
like
different.
MF. Yeah, Dominican hair.
When you have shorter hair, something that is not okay with it, it's more visible. With me,
Mine.
my hair, even if I get an uneven cut or something like that, who will notice besides me? You know, like my hair is really long, and like only I will be able to see it, and that is all.
Huh.
Like I actually have at the back of my head, my hair got tangled, and I was mad at it because I couldn't brush it out,
Oh,
and
that must
I
suck.
didn't have much nerves with me, and I just got it pissed off, and I was like, cut, and I have like at the back of my head, I just have like this size of little hair that is just growing out,
The worst
and
one.
you can't see it.
Well, weird tangent about hair, but now that we're already on it, and back in high school, my big thing was like, I mean, now I'm like a little more relaxed. Now I just got like, just like let it go. Who cares? But in high school, my whole thing was that I would specifically let my hair get like really long, and then I would like gel it back to like oblivion. And my thing is that I would let it get so long that yeah, I would let it get so long that that like the hairspray and the things I would use wouldn't be enough. So I finally found one called, I'm not bullshitting you, Gorilla Glue, right? And that glue part
Oh
isn't a lie.
no.
You would squeeze it on, and I'm telling you, you could go like this, like it was sticky. And I'm telling you, I was, and like when I would put it on, it would pull my hair back a little, like pull my head back a little bit from the pressure, because it was like it literally was like putting Elmer's on your head.
How
And I'm
did it
telling
look?
the knots
Uh,
I would get of that at the end of the day were just sublime,
yeah, but you
sublime.
saw that TikTok gorilla glue girl that had to have an operation or whatever.
Oh, I'm sorry to be laughing, but like, damn, that's
It's
funny.
okay, I laughed at that too. But like, how didn't that happen to you?
I don't know. I'm telling you, I probably had, like, you don't believe it, I just have dense hair. I probably had so much hair that my first layer just like, like shed off during the day, and then just like got replaced by like new layers by the end of it. Like I'm telling you, I just have like,
You were lucky, I would say.
oh no, lucky. Ask my barber when I would go in, because he would look at me and be like, "Oh, that's easy haircut." Then he would start going at it and be like, "Oh my god, I need a chainsaw, a chisel. Do we have like ice breaking equipment? Like, what can I do to penetrate this dude's hair?"
That
Dink,
means
dink,
for
dink, dink, dink. Writing his name in it, like, "Hey, barber was here, 2020."
let me take photo of this.
uh, but man, what was I even talking? The whole hair thing. Oh, that humans just have a tendency to just kind of be competitive about like other sides. So when you hear crazy shit like people say like, "Oh, the world is flat," you immediately consider them like completely stupid and don't hear what they have to say. And things like that, I understand why you wouldn't, because it's like me saying, "Oh, the sky is purple," and we're looking up like, dude, it's like, what do you even? This
Yeah,
is
or like
beyond.
lizard people.
Yeah, this is beyond like a question. But I guess it's like the writer in me. I always like want to question like why they would, and the thing that I've like hit
I'm
of
also
it,
like that.
it's the same thing about like it's like the whole like Trump phenomenon. Like I always like question like why. Like I hate any answer just being, oh well, they're stupid. Like when a person goes crazy and shoots up like XYZ, I hate hearing, oh well, they're crazy. It's like, yeah, but like
Yeah,
why? Like what is this issue? Because there has to be an issue for us to fix. And maybe that's my
of
problem,
course.
is that like I just always think that everything, maybe it's just an engineering mind, like in my head everything can be analyzed and then studied to be better, and like minimize redundancies later on.
Yeah,
So
my case, uh, I'm not like because of the reason. I'm just curious person,
mm,
and I will not believe them at the end of it. Like the Earth is not flat, blah blah blah. But I want to hear their thoughts, and how their
exactly.
brain works and things
Yeah.
like that. So that's in my case. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, like what I've kind of deduced, and maybe I'm being like too rational or something. I don't know. Like when I try to bring it up to like some of my friends, I always say like, "Oh, you're trying to put like rational thought to people that aren't thinking rationally," which is a good argument. But how I've kind of rationalized it is that their thing isn't necessarily that they've lost faith in like the world being flat or round or whatever. Is that they've lost faith in like media coverage basically. Like when you get down to what they're actually arguing about, what they say is like, oh, NASA's a lie, that everything they tell you is a lie. Oh, look at this time that they lied in 2010. And and you look at the data and it's like, oh well, actually they actually really did lie in 2010. But it's
Yes.
not that one lie doesn't mean that like we never left Earth and the world is like round, but they just take it to that extreme. So
Yeah, I
like,
understand.
you know what I mean? To them, they're just untrusting, and to be honest, they're untrusting because they've been lied to in the past. Same thing with the government. The reason why like Trump was such like a big thing is because everything we've seen of the government is no matter how much of a you have an Obama character that comes up and is like publicly loved, but still does countless of drone strikes and does like propagates the war machine instead of ending it. So like you have a people that are just kind of done with politics, and you have this one person that even though he doesn't actually do it, he just says a whole bunch of shit that seems anti-politics. So like it's obviously what people would go like, oh yeah, like I want like a change. Now whether
Well,
that
yes.
whether those things are true, again, I'm with you at the end. I'll hear you out. I'm not gonna agree with you at the end, but it's just interesting to kind of get at the root of things. Like why would you go into that? And to me, it's more of it like it's just a dissolution of trust as much as them being crazy.
Yeah, I just want, I like hearing the thoughts of people and how they process things and come to some conclusions. Like, I don't have to agree with you, but I can listen to you and maybe try to understand to some
Hmm.
degree, and that is it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean,
I'm too curious not to do those kind of things, and sometimes I even love to go on YouTube and just type conspiracy theories and just the crazier the better. I love those about lizard people and how celebrities are lizards and things like that. I love watching those.
all right.
They're so funny to me.
How deep into that do you go into? I actually have that. I mean, like it's a subplot way in the future, and it's like a thing like very mentioned, but it is something that I have like planned out in like my like saga with that whole because again, it's more of the distrust, right? It's not that they're necessarily lizard people. You know what? I actually believe the same thing of vampires. I'm not kidding. I actually really think that vampires, like the mythology around them, aren't really about people that like suck blood as much as just people with like high power that get into some like weird shit, because they have like a whole bunch of like power, and then like peasants or whatever like witness it and they tell it and it becomes like they're vampires, they suck blood up there, but then really it's just like this guy has just like weird, really weird sex fantasies, you know what I mean? And he can do that because he's like a lord or whatever, and could just get rid of the bodies or whatever sick shit he's doing.
Yeah, that is possible. I mean, personally, I love fantasy, science fiction, and those kind of books and movies, TV shows, everything. And I personally would love if vampires were real, werewolves, wizards, sorcerers, and everything about. I would really love if they're real. But yeah, it's probably some story like that happened because in some medieval times there was some lord or king that nobody can do anything about them, and he wasn't right up here, and
Yeah,
he
Vlad the
did whatever
Impaler.
he did,
Yeah, you know.
and that's how it went. People
Yeah,
told stories. It went from mouth to mouth. How stories were then, how people then would spread stories, and sometimes someone written it down, how he heard it, and boom, vampires are born.
yeah, I mean, you know how I mean, I think again, it's like the whole thing. I guess it's like why I love conspiracy theories is because I love thinking about like how it could actually bend into reality and how like what is the reality of this? Because I really do think there's like lies in every truth and truth in every lie.
Of
There's like
course.
something there. It's like again, it's like the whole duality we're talking about. It's like a yin and yang. Everything has a positive and a negative charge, right? So especially when it comes to like lizard people and like chemtrails and things like that, it's like there has to be some level of something. So when it comes to lizard, I don't think it's like they actually really think that there's like lizard people as much as there's like a society of people that are probably fucking around and not telling people. Seems a little more possible. Or
Well,
like,
yes.
or when it, and even the thing about itself is that I think that even the, like if you want to talk about a meta conspiracy, like talk about like meta conspiracy theories, I think the conspiracy theory itself, like the like even the word conspiracy, if you say it at a bar, do you say it like loud? Of course not. You're like, all right, dude, I have a conspiracy. Like it's like a hushed. You know, it's like you would never want to hear a professor in college what like you know hear a conversation about that, or you would never want to have that conversation in public. You It's like something you talk about
Of
with like your
course.
friends in like closed rooms or on podcasts where people can listen on forever.
Yes.
but
And ever.
um but for the most part there's like, you know, like a stigma to it, and I think even that had to have been made by people that didn't want you talking about their shit, right? Because like why would you feel so weird talking about something that literally is just obvious? Like how could you, like could you even think that there's a conspiracy that the government is like trying to fuck around with things? That's not a conspiracy, that's a meme. That's like obvious. It's like, yes, but to what degree?
Well, yes.
You know what I mean? It's like no one
I
is gonna argue
understand
that.
what you mean.
uh I don't know, but it's just weird how like just even the terminology that gets used is like, I don't know, almost like waterboarded so that like we don't want to talk about it as frequently. It's almost like the Matrix, you know?
Kinda. I mean, for me, I personally, they're entertaining for me, and that is why I
Mm.
sometimes like to watch some video or something about some conspiracy theory or something like that. But I don't go too deep into it. Uh, Honestly, because I kind of don't have time for it. If I
And
had more
because they're
time, I
so deep.
probably would. But I think if you get into that rabbit hole, there's so much stuff that people are talking about, and it's just crazy.
Well, the thing that stops me is one, entertainment value. I mean, like how I think about it is that everything is research for writing, right? Because I
But
tie everything
yes,
back later. So my whole thing is more like how much can I, like I guess it's like again meta conspiracy. It's like even then when you're reading about conspiracy, how much can you actually trust? How much is like this being told by a person that generally wants you to find out some like hidden truth, or if this is like written by the same people that are trying to mess with you, and it's just like, you know, like a misdirection. Like, oh yeah, look over
yeah,
here while we're
anything
messing
is
around over here.
possible.
Yeah, you never know. So it's like, why even go that far into like research? It's just like, you know, read the headline, read a couple like supporting things, be like, all right, cool, that's data for me to use later, and then just go on with your life. You watch some Lilo and Stitch or whatever you got to do. Just
Yeah,
get your
that
mind
is
off that
actually
craziness.
amazing
Yeah.
with being a writer. You can just Google anything, and someone comes and asks you about it. "Well, I'm doing a research for my book."
Yeah.
That is the end of the conversation. And you're actually secretly a serial killer or something like that. But like, I'm writing a book.
No, yeah, I'm telling, like it's so, especially you didn't have to go even that far as writing. I remember when Breaking Bad came out, you know, just like Googling, oh, does hydrofluoric acid really burn through bodies? Oh, how long does it take in order for acid to burn through bones? And just like things that you're watching to like fact check the TV show.
Yeah.
Like I don't even plan. Like I'm not really a gore writer, so I don't even plan to write that type of shit. But it's just like finding out. It's like, oh, I wonder how factually accurate Breaking Bad is. And for anybody that's curious, accurate as fuck. They did the research.
I know there was that trend going on around. I don't know if you're on TikTok. I
No.
sometimes scroll through like or reels on Instagram and things like
Hmm.
that, and I just watch through videos because they're funny to me. And there was one thread going on like a best friend like don't hurt her or else, and then supposed boyfriend is like you're gonna do what? And one girl was like, I will bury you. I will go and think how she would do the crime so nobody knows it was her, you know. And
But she recorded it.
no, she was like recorded. It's a joke actually, and because everything is serious on Instagram or and social media. So I have to say it's a joke. And you see a video like that, and then you're like googling, is this really accurate? you know?
Oh my God. Like it's unreal how paranoid the internet has made me that I can't watch. The one that kills me is when you see a parenting video, and I'm gonna put parentheses, air quotes around parenting video. They'll have like a parent, they'll put like a camera right there, and they'll like show them, parenting and being woke to their
Yeah,
children. And all I'm thinking about is like, all right, bro, what is wrong with you? Have we gotten this far and this like polluted in society that like you can't have like that's not intimate anymore? That's shit
yeah,
that you
everything
talk
is
about
online.
20 years later as a kid. It's like, oh, I remember when I was a kid and my mom did this. Why are we recording it? Like that's such a like, what are you doing? Like
Yeah, keep some
you
things private.
yeah, you're trying to prove to me how good of a parent you are. You just prove to me now. You just hoard out your kid for a
Yeah,
couple likes. You just prove the exact opposite. Like that's horrible. But at the same time, I guess like it could be just me being a grandpa because
yeah.
you know
I think it's
I don't know.
subjective. That also because maybe that person just wanted to share how they're proud of their child or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's
But
what I'm
the
saying.
problem is there are a lot of people that would post something like that just for a few likes. And yeah, people are actually really oversharing online and things like that. So
Dude,
yeah, I
that's
understand where you're coming from.
I don't know. It's one of those things. It ties into the beginning of what we were talking about. It's almost like the Black Mirror effect that like you love the new technology, but then you're kind of taken back by the things that eventually just kind of like starts coming the negative of it, you know?
Yeah,
And it's crazy to think like what those negatives are going to be like in the future. I mean, that's what sci-fi is all about, right? I mean, eventually VR is going to be a thing, and what is going to be like, why would you be in reality if you can be in a virtual one? Like why would you be here living whatever boring life you have where you can be like I don't know, an orc fighting some like dinosaurs in virtual reality?
yeah, that is true.
I
I
don't
mean,
know, it's a weird thing.
yeah, it is. And with social media and everything, I always said like social media is amazing and great and everything like that, but only if you know how to use it.
Mm.
And that is it. Like, especially in today's time, it can be really dangerous. And there are lots of children that are oversharing stuff and things like that. And that can get you in danger. And that is just the reality of it. So it can be amazing, but only if you know how to use it. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember when we were growing up and the internet was just coming out and like you were told like never share your
You,
information online? That was the obvious
you
thing.
can, the dial up, I think that is
Yeah,
how it was
yeah,
called.
you couldn't have a house call and
Yeah.
have the internet was,
Yeah.
yeah, that was
Yeah.
I actually got into music a little bit and I tried to make like a dubstep song with that sound.
And how
And
did it go?
I mean, am I talking about my music career right now? It went horribly.
If you want, you can.
Well, like that's the whole thing. It's like oh, it actually goes perfect into what we were talking about before about talk about saving. There was one time that I had really gone into music, and I like spent like a summer on it, and I ended the summer with like 3 4 tracks that I was actually kind of like really like, and I even, if I can be honest, like when I'm in my car, like they'll like pop into my head and I'll kind of like play along to it for like a second. But at the end of that summer, that hard drive failed on me, and I didn't transfer it anywhere. I didn't have like backup copies of it. It was just gone. And at that moment, I was just like, "Yep, no more music." Like that was like a definitive.
We're done.
Yeah, like it's one of those interesting things. Like I wonder if in an alternate universe where that didn't happen, if like I would be having a podcast about music right now, and like that's where my life would be. Because like at
Maybe you
that
would
point, I
be
was just like,
famous
nah, fuck
singer.
it. Oh, singer? No, no, no. We talk. No, no,
Okay,
no.
musician.
Yeah, I was I was fucking around on a mini pad and like like doing like dubstep and shit like that. But yeah, uh, it's it's just so weird. Even my first, but I guess it's more about passion, right? Because that actually happened for my first book as well. My very first book, I had written like half of it, and I had like and the whole outline of it as well. I had it on a notebook, and I had it in a backpack in the back of my friend's car. And then that car got robbed, so I lost that entire half of my book, and like the plotting of it as well, like the entire idea of like what I was gonna do with it. And I could have easily dropped that, but I just picked it up and I was like, yeah, nah, I'll continue on.
Imagine if you bought some book like now or something
Allegory
like
of the
that,
End.
and it's your
What the hell?
story.
Uh, uh, can you imagine? And it's like a
Yeah,
bestseller.
that would
Like,
be actually really terrible.
man, that should be a great plot that you mix it up. And the best part is that like, the person doesn't know what they're talking about at all. It's like some street kid, like ex drug dealer. It's like, oh yeah, man. So I got the idea. Like, I don't even know when I was smoking with my friends.
And he came here on a podcast with you.
And I was like, oh, hey, I'm trying to get the address. I don't know, but where you live again? I was like, oh, I live in New England. Yeah, but where in New England again? What's the address again? No, I just want to come
Oh,
visit
that would be so funny.
you.
I mean, terrible, but imagine that storyline. What would be happening? Like, how can you even prove that that is your story, and how can he prove that it isn't your story?
I get that feeling currently every time I pass the book on to like a beta reader. I'd like that
Yeah.
idea, like especially when like there's certain people that you'll give it to and they'll read it and they'll forget to like message you back. So like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? So like they'll like read it and he like message back. It's like, oh dude, I forgot. Oh yeah, that shit was actually mad sick. I just like read it and like
forgot.
forgot. Yeah, I read it and like jumped onto other shit. My bad. And I'm just there like it's like, oh, okay. Or the worst part is when you'll send it on the Google Drive and the person isn't like that tech savvy, so they're trying to open it through like 4 different emails. So like you immediately get the conspiracy theory of like, oh my god, they're sending it to like 9 other
My book.
people. Yeah, they're stealing my shit now. Uh, it is just so funny how everything like comes together. Do you ever get that feeling of like plagiarism or like the idea that like somebody is gonna run with something that you've done or an idea that you have and just take it?
Well, the thing is, I work on 1999 Upwork, People Per Hour, on a lot of freelance sites where I can get jobs, and I had moment actually. I just finished a contest on 99 Design. That is how I got in contact with Renee for this book. And I didn't work on 99 Design for some time, and I went to get wanted to start again to try and see how it will go. And I went to some contest, and person kind of changed these sites, so it is both like cities. The person talking here, walking here, was a male, and it was green.
Huh.
They basically stole my idea for design and what I did design, and they just tried their own version of it. I mean, it didn't work. Their design got in decline, but you can't really think if someone will copy you or anything. You just have to believe in your work, the quality of it. There will always be copycats and someone trying to do what you do, but not everybody can do it. And that is how I try to think about it,
Yeah.
because there is a reason why I'm good at this and why I'm doing this. And as you as a writer know, not everybody can do it. They can try, but you have to have that something.
Yeah, and not only that, I think it's something about like your artistic voice and just like your interpretation of things. I mean, I remember when and let me tell you, I at first was really private about like sharing my copyright and things like that. I remember every artist that I had, I wrote up like a lengthy non-disclosure agreement and like made everyone sign it before working on it. And I remember I just like lessened up because I realized that I really like, even if somebody were to take my full book verbatim and like print it, print their version of it in like China or whatever country of origin and just change the name,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be able to, they all right, what are they going to do to follow it up? What's volume 2? You tell me. You stole the
Yeah.
idea, what
What
are you going to do
happens
now?
next?
Yeah, what happens next? They have no answer. Or the
Even I
opposite.
don't know that.
Yeah. Or the opposite. If somebody let's say that I'm talking about ideas with a fellow author, and I'm talking about an idea for like, book 5, and while they're currently writing their book 3 or whatever, and they get to write it before I do, and they steal my idea. It's like, even then, if that one little thing, they wouldn't know how to write it the same way I do. Like my ideas are tailored to my writing voice and my writing style.
Yes,
If you
I
were to
agree.
take my idea, you like, I'm not saying that like you would write it wrong, but you wouldn't write it the same way I would write
Of course not. You can, because the thing is, even when we talk ideas with someone, we tell them differently than what we have in our heads.
it. Mm-hmm.
And
Exactly. That's a great point too.
I know when I talked actually with Renee about for some other designs, and I told her like I wrote down my idea, and she was like, "Well, I will wait for it to see it." Because you can't, you have to, you with writing, you just start writing and it comes out amazing. And me with designing, like I can tell you what design I would make for your book, but you wouldn't be able to visualize it as I see it in my mind until I actually made it. And I
Can
think that is how with your book and idea or everything you can tell whatever you want to someone, but they can't make that idea come to life as good as you would.
yeah, I'm telling you, I agree so much. I can actually give you an example of it. This is oh crap, can I?
Don't break something.
This is the cover for not you guess you're a nicer reflection of yourself, but if you zoom in a little bit, can you see that?
I can see little dots
Ah,
and
damn.
myself.
Well, what it is yeah, you can see yourself really well, huh? Hey, the background of my house too. Oh my god. Uh, but
It's like a person falling, right?
yeah, and what it is, the allegory of the black of the end. The original name that I was gonna go with was actually allegory of the black hole. When I told the artist about this, this has was his representation of the black hole, like
Yeah,
how the
I
person
actually
goes.
love it.
Yeah, and what you can't really notice, well, maybe kind of, is that that's actually binary in the background.
Oh,
And
I didn't.
yeah,
I
and
see there are little lines, I think, in
yeah,
letters.
yeah, these are
It's
ones and
actually amazing.
yeah, it's ones and zeros. And what it is like even like obviously it looks like somebody falling in space, but
Yeah.
really it's it's ones and zeros. Those aren't stars. It's all
Oh, I
binary.
didn't notice that part.
Yeah, like
But I actually really love the cover because it is simple, but it has that something to draw you in it and binary details and things like that. I actually really like it.
well, again, the only reason I showed it, the very only time I've ever done that on the podcast. Uh, but the reason I showed it is because like to kind of highlight the point that you made about visualization. I couldn't visualize that when the person told me about it. It was just an idea, and believe it or not, that was actually fan made. Like
Really?
I didn't contract. Yeah, it's actually unreal how it happened. It's like I was going through this thing that I at first contacted a couple of graphic artists that I won't name on Fiverr,
Okay.
and the things that they turned out to me were just not up to like at first I thought it was cool because they like presented it in a really cool way. They gave me like the 3D files and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
mock-ups and things like that.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, that's like cool, professional, right? Oh my god. And on top of that is that you're an author. So like just seeing like a visualization of your book, you're like, oh my god, right? It's like your baby. You never
Yeah,
think your baby's ugly. So
well, true.
so like you're just like, oh my god, it's beautiful, perfect. But it wasn't until I started the podcast and I started like it's like, oh well, this is my cover. And instead of that reaction, it was like, oh, that's really cool. People were like, oh,
Yes, it is. That
that is
is
a
your
cover.
cover.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay.
Is that the
The
final version?
yeah. It's like, oh, when are you gonna finish it? Oh, okay. You have like that heart sinking feeling. Uh and so I had to go back to the drawing board. And I was like obviously really like nervous about it because it's like, damn, I already messed up. What am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
So as I'm kind of going through that process, somebody just hit me up. It was like, hey, I read a little bit of like your book. Do you mind being like sending me like a couple more chapters or something? I think they found it on like Reddit or something and hit me up on Instagram. I gave it to them. Then they just gave me that cover. Like they were just like, oh, I graphic design. How you feel about this? And I was like just like my heart sank into like, it was like, oh my god. this is amazing. Like
Yes,
I told him immediately that was like, yeah, it's gonna be the cover for the book without even a single doubt. Uh, yeah, it's just
I
it,
really like it too. I think it's simple but effective, which is important. You can have too simple cover or too busy cover. You need to have that something, no matter if it's simple, busy, something in between. It has to have that something that keeps the attention of a potential reader, which I think that cover really does have.
well, it leads
And that
into
is my professional opinion.
oh well, thank you. Well, the reason I brought it up, uh, even though I love the compliments, was more to like ask what do you think makes a standout cover? What do you think is that oomph element? The thing that made me go into a more minimalist route with it was a conversation I had with a past guest actually, and it's so sad it wasn't a part of the recorded session. It was just like after we recorded, we just kind of like shot the shit, and he said it was like that. It was basically what you said. It was like there's something that needs to be iconic, and it doesn't even necessarily need to be like you don't need to get lost in like finding the perfect theme that perfectly represents
Yeah,
the book. You just need to pick a theme that like conveys the thought that you want. You have Twilight, one of the best-selling series ever. The cover is a girl with pale hands holding an apple.
yeah,
When do
that's what
they
I wanted to
ever
say.
talk about apples? What do they ever visit an orchid, an orchard, an orchard? I can't even speak right now. For like an apple farm, they never do that. That's never a plot.
I
But
agree.
but
It
it
has something.
yeah, it's just like that thing that it's more of one of those things that makes you think it's like, oh, it's like what the hell? It's almost like a juxtaposition because like what does an apple have to do with Twilight? And then you
Yeah.
read the back and you talk about you read that's like about vampires and werewolves and you're like, oh, what the hell is this? And then you make the
Are they
artistic
eating apples?
exactly right. You have like that thing of it, but then you have like the art, like the inner artist come out and be like, oh, wait a minute, maybe they're making like a commentary about the apple from Eden. Maybe this is a thing about choice. Like is she gonna bite the apple? And again, it's just a great little like I think he framed it as iconography. It's like making like an icon of something as opposed to like the huge like massive scape. How do you feel about that whole process?
Well, art is really subjective, and
Mm.
I can't really tell you uh, this is right or this is wrong.
Mm. Well,
It
nobody
really
can,
goes
right?
from client to client and from cover to cover.
Mm.
What I'm repeating myself right now, but what I always keep in mind is that text is readable and just listening to my client, their wishes, and just like make a good quality of design. That is not just one photograph, second photograph, boom, text, and we are done.
Mm.
No, you don't do it like that. I mean, you can, but it doesn't always work out well.
Mm.
Just like think about design and like even this cover, you think it's just like simple, but you have dimensions in it.
Yeah.
One color here, then color here, then city, then darker city, circus, tent, and things like that. There are layers on layers that tell the story, which you will know if you read this book, but we're not promoting that. And I don't know, when I get the description of the book, I always, there is always that one thing that my mind just catches.
Mm.
And I just try to focus on that. And I just go from there. But like definition, what is a good cover, what makes it stand out, and things like that, I don't have an answer for that.
Mm. Well, I guess the flip side of that is like, what do you think makes a cover lacking? Outside of like the obvious, you can't read the text or things like that. Like, what do you think is a major pitfall that artists may commit to that or more? What do you say? What do you feel about the industry as a whole as it's growing, and like things that you may or may think? that are kind of eh, like what
Oh,
you know?
let me think that about it a little bit. I mean, everything is allowed
Mm,
in art, and that is the beauty of it. But what I
mm,
personally don't like is when covers are overcrowded
mm.
and when there is too much, that you don't even know what you're looking at. It's okay to have many things, but if you do it smartly,
That's a great
the
point.
little
Yeah.
hidden messages or things like that, that is really a great way. But if you just put everything there that is in your face, personally, I don't like that.
Mm.
And let's say that is the answer. When there is too much.
No, that's actually a great answer. Like I would call it the Star Wars poster effect, right? Where like how Star Wars has like like 9 characters on there. They have like spaceships flying at you and like 3 planets in the background. Uh, and it obviously works for Star Wars, but I think people influenced by that will make their cover like it's like, oh well, I need to put every main character in the board in the front.
Or
Uh,
every character that is, even if the movie, like
yeah,
movie posters, you have like 50 people on the cover.
yeah. I mean, I need to put like
So,
4 spaceships and like a
yeah.
planet surface and like all these kooky little elements. I need to make sure that it's all like they all have their own like little style and all these crazy things, and that's beautiful. But I think that works as an art piece, not for a cover. Like if anything, you need to
Yeah.
like if it, like a great advice I got was somebody said that instead of trying to make a cover be a cover like a movie poster, make it like a scene. Like you pick a scene that you really like that like symbolizes something to you, and you just visualize that as like the heist of the book.
Or just that something, maybe a silhouette of a person, or if there is a lot about
Yeah.
of the story in a forest or something like that, connected to the stars, or just some detail that always goes, that is going through a whole book, or something that when people read the book, then they look at the cover again and they're like, aha, now I understand it.
Oh my god,
That
that is, yeah. Again, I like it's actually the very first recording I ever made on a podcast was me talking about how much I hate making the title for a book because I feel, and it might be an unjustified fear, but I feel like titles and covers have like that weight that they need to like really exemplify like an element of your book, right? So even just like every title I always have, I always get that same feeling of like, no, it needs to be like definitive, like to an elemental level. You
Yeah, I
know,
understand.
like even Frankenstein. Frankenstein. The full title of it is Frankenstein, the first No, the modern Prometheus, and that title is like definitive of like Prometheus, the Greek god, and like his whole story, and then how that ties into Victor Frankenstein and his creation of the monster, and just all those things. It's like that's a beautiful title. So it's
Yeah,
like,
I
and
agree.
yeah, and the same way that all artists are inspired by the art that they grew up on. When you write, you want to be inspired by the writing that you grew up on. So it's like you want to pay homage to like how much concentration they put on a title. But it's such a fearful thing because it's like, oh, will people get it? Like, are they actually going to look at that? When somebody reads my book, are they actually going to be like, all right, what is the allegory of the end? Like, what was the point of it?
Well, they make the connection.
Yeah. Uh, but I guess that's the beauty of it because I'm sure you've taken an English class that you've studied Shakespeare, and Shakespeare has been dead for hundreds of years, and we still is it actually hundreds? Yeah, and you know he's been dead forever, and we still find different ways to pick apart his art. You know?
Well, that is the beauty of it. You can always either look at the painting again, read the book again, look at the drawing again, or whatever, you know, and there is always something new to discover. And that is brilliant, actually, and amazing.
Yeah, it actually kind of made me think. Those artists, right, that like made this like made like these things that like nobody understood forever. It was just like these like weird art pieces that was like, imagine like a piece of paper, and it just had like this weird like ring, like it was just it looked just like a mash of colors but just in a ring form.
Yeah.
And the person just kept it in his house, right? He never had like an art collector as a friend, never like brought it out to public or anything like that. Then somebody is going through his house, like, you know, like at like 20 years after he's died, and for whatever reason they found like this weird cylinder in his art room, and they decided to put that cylinder in the middle of like the weird rings, and they realized that his art was based around that. So when you put that cylinder, it would reflect and make an image off based off the crazy ring that he would like paint, and it was like these beautiful
Nice.
Greek mosaics. Yeah. And again, think about the genius level of artistry you need to be in order to create that and visualize that and create it like perfectly. And then no one even gets it until you die 30 years later. What?
Wow.
Like that's it's crazy.
Whoopsie.
Yeah. Or just like the idea that like it actually happens a lot where very like absurdist comedy from like 1930 that like was shunned by the community now gets revisited with like modern day sense of humor, and like people realize that those people were crazy ahead of their time but just weren't liked because of the society they were in. Like I'm isn't that fucked that you can be an artist and just because of the time you were born
Yeah, you're not understood
you're just
then.
not
Yeah.
understood, you know what I mean? Or even
Yeah.
or me look, even think about like a Viking, right? If you were born like a Ted Bundy in the Viking time would have been a hero. What? It was like, oh dude, he's killing people that, you know, for like the
That
opposite
is
side.
amazing.
He's amazing. Oh my god, he's a hero. We need to sing songs about him. But now we're yeah, but he was born in a time that we can understand that's fucking psycho. So then he's a psycho. It's I don't know. It's absurd. Same thing with like writing. It's uh I don't know. It's funny. It's something that I joke about in like the back in like the behind the scenes of the podcast. That like depending on the writing, that like there's certain ones of us that are just gonna, you know, blow up because of like where it's just right for the market, and certain of ones of us that aren't gonna blow up until like we're understood.
Yeah, but I mean, with art, you whenever I do something, it's not because of the market.
Yes.
People will see, or I don't do it so I get praise. I just do it because I really love it. And whenever I'm having a bad day or something like that, I do my best drawings, my best book covers, and things like that. Like I learned to channel everything, good, bad, and everything in between in my art. And I really am not doing it to be praised or for you to tell me, oh my God, Maya, you're such a good book cover designer, the best book cover designer in the world. No, I don't believe that personally, but I just love doing what I am. I love my job, and I think it is visible in my covers because I'm not doing it because I have to. I'm doing it because I love it.
Such a breath of fresh air to hear that, because I mean, I told my editor the exact same thing this morning. I was like, yeah, I just want to get this wrapped up because I want to just start get back to writing because I actually like writing. Like I
Yeah,
like sitting down. Like it's the same reason I like math. It's like it feels like a problem. You know, when you start writing and then like you hit like one point, it's like, oh well, how do I convey the emotion that I want in the shortest amount of words and advance the plot in a way that it's not boring.
you're
'Cause
completing the puzzle.
yeah, it's like completing a puzzle because there's so many elements, and like it's not just about beautiful prose, it's about like is this entertaining. I can give you volumes of text that's good writing but is nonsensical, you know, just like not plot driven work, and
Yeah,
that's
not
not
everybody
entertaining.
can write, or not everybody can do
Can draw,
any type
make
of
book
write
covers, yeah.
art. Sorry, because you need to have like just in writing, you need to have that ability to make a reader connect with characters. And in my opinion, I don't think that is an easy thing to do
Hmm.
because I know when I love reading books, but when I can't connect with the characters, I it's really hard for me to finish the book.
Hell yeah.
Uh, I then I of course I'm not a fan of the book, because not everybody can do it.
I'm at the point right now of writing the next thing, and that's actually one of the things that I'm messing around with right now, like a vote like emotional character development. Like
Yeah.
what are the emotional drives of the character at this point versus this point, and mainly is like what development do I want to show? What is like the heart of what I want to do? And I mean, I can talk about like what I'm actually doing like later, but for the most part, the yeah, because I don't want to record it. Got to save some of it, right?
Well,
Magician can't
you
have
can
all the
tell all
tricks.
of your secrets.
Yeah, can't tell all the secrets. But as far as the main thing that I'm doing, and it's what you said is a great segue to it, is that I'm really studying my favorite TV shows, my favorite movies, my favorite books. I'm going back and I'm studying what characters I loved, even though they, by all definitions, should be hated. I don't know if you're a fan of Breaking Bad, but Walter White character.
I actually haven't watched it.
Well, if you haven't, I recommend it highly. It's one of my favorite shows ever made by people.
I
But
I always wanted to, but I just couldn't make time for it. And
mm,
everybody told me it's a great TV show, and I don't want to watch it and then have to stop watching it and then continue. I just want to binge
want
watch
to
it.
yeah, and it's a big show to binge watch too. It's one of the you can't it's not like Winter Soldier. You can probably binge Winter Soldier in like a weekend if you really tried, but Breaking Bad is that's a
I
tough one.
started watching Winter Soldier yesterday.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's not hard. I mean,
Yeah, it's not.
they're like 50 minutes, like 6 7 episodes in total. That's play worth.
Yeah, but don't underestimate my powers. Uh,
Oh no, I've been there.
I really can watch a lot of episodes in one day. So,
Yeah,
like
I
my
don't.
sister and I sometimes have Harry Potter marathons that we just watch all of the movies in a like 2 days or something like that. So,
Yeah, no problem.
if it's needed, I will binge watch it without stopping.
Well, if you ever do that, if you ever do come in Boston, we'll 100% do that. There's nothing more that I love in life than marathoning shit, especially
Yeah,
when it's
just
really good movies. You know what I mean?
getting comfy with popcorn or something to snack on.
I have a huge.
Best
I'm a
thing
kid.
ever.
I'm a kid when it comes to candy. Like
Yeah.
oh my god, you give me like sour candy and like actually. I can't I do have to say I've become like a little bit of a health freak, so I'm not that big on like drinking gallons of soda. It's unreal. I used to in college I would knock out 12 packs like they were candy, no problem. We used to build forts of it, me and my roommate. I'm not kidding. I would consume soda, but now like I'll drink like half a can and like it feels like syrup to me. It just feels so dense. I drink seltzer. I drink a lot of like soda water now. That's like my
I
go-to.
I actually am drinking like actually mineral water, soda water right now. So
Yeah, yeah.
I really love actually water and the taste of it. If someone says that water doesn't have taste, they are lying. There is difference in water and it has taste.
I had to
Not like
argue.
juice, but
I had
it
to
has
argue with somebody in elementary school. So I was like, all right. So if I blindfolded you and just poured a bucket of pee and a bucket of water on you, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
yeah, and like even the water that you purchase by them, uh, different purchased waters have different tastes. You know, this brand of water and this brand of water, they're not the same.
Yeah, like I don't know what it was. Every time we got like free bottles of water, I never liked that like natural spring water. I always liked like either Poland Springs or Dasani. There was something about the other ones that were kind of. Oh, I mean, Fiji water is always great, but I don't feel like dropping $5 on water.
Okay, I know what Fiji water is because I heard of it, but the rest, no.
Poland Springs?
Because
I thought that was like pretty international.
I don't know, maybe they are, but here in Serbia we have different
Although
water, so
I will be real with you. Yeah, I was being a little ignorant. I think the only one that's like truly international is probably like Pellegrino, right?
I don't know.
That's like the soda water that's like in a green bottle.
I
I
mean,
might I might
it's
be pronouncing
familiar
it
to
wrong.
me, but I honestly am not sure right now. So
Well,
maybe I'm even lying and we have it here, but maybe I'm not.
Man, I think that's like the interesting part about well, it ties into what you were talking about before. Like the first time that I ever really understood like the power of like the international connection, I had an interview with a person from India, and like I don't know, I guess there's something of that desensitizes you to the idea of like, this is a huge world because we're able to talk so like easily, right? But that was the first time I ever like stood back and was like, oh, I'm talking to a person from India right now, because he had his window open, and like the entire like there was an Indian community behind him. There was like cars beeping and people like talking, and like there was like a whole thing, and I was just like, oh my god, this is like watching like a video cam from like an Indian corner. Like, and he was like talking to me about like that his part of the like his interview. He was doing his interview off a phone, because he would tell me that part of the world there is no like laptops are like a thing that you go to like a computer, like like a hub for. You pay like $5 to like some place and you like get like
Yeah, and then you
internet.
can sit and be on computer.
Yeah, and like that's like you tell me that like even Amazon doesn't go to, like they don't ship to his part of the world.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's just like, oh my god, Amazon, they own everything. Like you would
I
think.
mean, we have Amazon here, of course, but like shipping is expensive.
Yeah,
But yeah, that is so weird, man.
yeah, it's like crazy to hear. It's like, oh my god, but yeah, we're here talking like no problem. If anything, your audio might be actually cleaner than mine. Like, how's that happening? It's so weird how things go. But actually, like almost missed my point. The reason I want to ask you was like the whole thing about the character development. And the reason I brought up Breaking Bad is because there is nothing about Breaking Bad, spoiler alert, but not even kind of, is that when you get to a certain point, there is nothing that you should like about the character anymore. Like all like morality has been dissolved, but yet you still do. You're still there. Another example would be like any movie that's like, like, Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino. It's literally from the point of view of like assassins,
Yeah,
and you're there for the assassins, and like all the things that they question, like like you omit all the crazy things that they do, because like you understand them as like a character, and you're just like, all right, they're just misunderstood.
yeah, I understand it. Like that is basically like every vampire TV show or
Yes.
movie.
Yeah.
Like he slaughtered 3,000 people 50 years ago or 1,000 years ago. Yeah, but he's changed now. you
Yeah,
know?
but he loves me, so all
Yeah,
right. uh
I understand what you're meaning.
yeah, so like that kind of leans into what I want to ask is, what do you think was a great example of that within literature? Like, when do you think was an example of sometime, what, I guess you kind of, Sirius Black is a good example of that, because he is at first like presented as the
He's a
prisoner of
bad character at
Azkaban.
first,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then you
He was
realize.
actually the one that popped in my mind because everybody is like hating him because everybody thinks he wants to kill Harry.
Yeah.
Uh, but actually, he's really nice. And even if he's okay, he still has that moment in the Order of Phoenix that he is misunderstood. He just wants to be with Harry, and he's stuck in that Order of Phoenix house, and he can't go outside. He can't do anything, and nobody is understanding him. You know, and yeah, I would say him. That is, I really love about him. And sometimes people think he's probably not that great. Like, why are you feeling bad about yourself? You're not in Azkaban. But yeah, I'm stuck in this house and I can't go out. I'm just here.
Yeah, you traded one prison for another.
Yeah. So I
uh
would say him.
yeah, I mean, great example. It's actually, it's funny, when I thought of the question, I didn't think of at first of how like you basically just already answered it with the first
Yeah.
question I asked you. um Man, it is crazy, because I guess it kind of ties in with the question, is that like I guess that story really did like open your eyes to that type of writing, right? It was like the first time that well, I can't say it, can't judge based on what your experience is, but from what you've said, that really seems like it's the first time that your mind like woke up, like, oh, this is writing. I care about a
Yeah.
character that normally I would, that if I knew this person in real life, I'd probably be like, toxic right there. But I'm
Yeah.
reading about
Not
this,
sure
and
I
it's like
want to
awesome.
hang out with him.
Yeah. which is such an interesting concept. Like every time, like something that I always heard, especially with like, I hate to get political, but one thing that I always heard, like always growing up, was like when there would be political candidates, especially when you're talking about guys, it's like, man, I wouldn't vote for him, but I'd get a beer with him. You know, seems like a cool guy to chill with. Like I always heard about that with like Bush. You know, that like people were saying that he was like an idiot and all XYZ. And I'm not saying I'm on either side of it, but like he was a polarizing president. And one thing they always like that my friends always said it, which is funny because we weren't even at the drinking age, but like they were always like, it was like, yeah, but he seems like a cool guy to hang out with, though. You know, you might
I
not
feel
agree
that
with
with
them.
TV show characters, like I wouldn't be friends with you, but I would maybe have a drink for you with you just to see what you would do. What would happen.
Yeah, like it's an interesting concept because it's like I guess it kind of talks higher to like what society is. Like, does everything have to be likable to you? I
Well,
get,
no, of course
yeah,
not. No,
right. I guess there's certain things that just like you accept purely because they are, and I think that's
yeah,
like what's awesome about writing is that like especially today, if you were to base that our societal growth on social media, you wouldn't think that we're that evolved at all. Because the moment somebody says something crazy, you hear like a whole bunch of people crying about it and saying they need to cancel them and all
yeah,
these like over justifications of like things like that. But in reality,
yeah.
writing can give you a great point of view of somebody that is just ignorant. There's nothing wrong with it.
What I love about books, writing, drawings, and things like that is that you can create your own world, and no matter what you write or draw or whatever, nobody can tell you you're wrong because you're the only person that knows what is going on inside that world.
Mm,
And I think that with imagination and everything, that is really amazing because it can be healing in a way,
mm,
either through drawing in my case or writing in yours, and exploring some aspects or drawing some things. It is amazing how we can help you as a person. I know when I am done with drawing or designing covers or something like that, I always feel better after it. I feel
mm.
lighter, happier, and everything. Like, I did that. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, there is nothing more like rewarding than this. There's nothing more rewarding than just. I mean, it's why I love art, and why I made the
Create.
pod. Yeah, it's why I made like the podcast too. I mean, it's not just a thing about talking to other authors. It's just like finding other creatives. There's nothing better than talking about just passions and things that you like truly care about. I'm sure everyone has experience of like working at like a job. You go there and they're just like talking about whatever, and you're just like, oh, dude, what is going on here? They're like, no, you're talking and the conversations are like nice, but they're like nothing you want to talk about. That's not like what you're like thinking about, what you're passionate about. And now like that's all I do. I just talk to people that are actually passionate about whatever they're doing, instead of people that have like that dead look of like, yeah, Wednesday I went this and got food, and then I
There's
got ready for
something.
Thursday. But Friday, right? Friday. Oh my God, thank God it's Friday. It's such a weird feeling. I never have that feeling now. Every day feels like it's a great day. It's like it's not
I
that like
agree.
waiting. It's like not that waiting of like, do you remember that? Do you remember like on like the feeling you would get on Fridays of like, oh my God, it's finally over? And that the depression you would get on Sunday, just knowing you would have to
Yeah.
go
Oh
back.
my God. Tomorrow's Monday.
Oh, I have to go back to hell. No.
Honestly, I don't even know the days of the week. To be honest,
Me too.
like when we scheduled
Yep.
this episode, everything, I was like, okay, it's on Tuesday. Let me check the date today just to be
Yep.
sure when it will be.
I'm on the exact same boat. I pay no attention to days. The only things that keep me on track are just like scheduling. If it's a
Yeah.
week, which is actually kind of like funny because it's a week. If it's a week that I'm taking like time off because I've like recorded too much, I'll like that week will just go by in a blur. It'll be like when you have like it'll be like my version of a vacation, where like it'll be like, oh, I guess we have no recordings this week, and then Monday, and then I'll just wake up on a following Monday, like, oh, what even happened?
What
What did
happened?
what did we do? It's like you look back, it's like, oh well, I did watch a lot of TV, and then
I
like,
ate 3 times.
like yeah, I did eat a few times. What was that? It's so weird how everything goes. I don't know why this came up, but do you like cooking as well? Like, does the artistry
Yeah,
always?
I love it.
Yeah, me too. Like it's like I guess it kind of leans into that thing I said before about like working with your hands. Uh,
Yeah, we're creating something, and
yeah,
I love that. I know when I was younger, uh, when my mom would leave my sister and I home alone when she had to go do something.
yeah.
And my sister is 4 years older than me, so it was not like we were five or something like
Mm.
that. It was safe to be alone. But my mom was like, Maya, don't cook anything. And then my sister and I would be like, okay. And my mom would leave. We would hear her car driving around. And my sister is like, want to make hot chocolate for us? And I would be happy going in the kitchen and making hot chocolate in secret, and that is how it started.
Oh my
My love
god,
for cooking.
that's awesome. It's funny how like to me it was always more kind of like I guess it's the same thing the same way I treat like anything now. It's just more kind of like oh, I bet I can do that. What like I'm sure it's like how what got you into like book cover designing, right? You see somebody doing a book cover, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I can do that. Right? It's like, oh, I could probably even do that better, honestly, if they just like do that little thing in the corner, right? Like your
They
own
just click
creativity,
here,
yeah, like
do this.
your own creativity starts going into it. It's like the same thing with writing. It's something we talked about before. Like what got me into writing wasn't this idea that I want to be a writer, that I want to get like awards or like all these like fantasies and things like that. It was more just like I wanted to write the story that I wanted to read. That's purely just what it was. And I think cooking is a great example of that, because I mean, literally, you eat your food, so obviously
Yeah,
your
you
end
make
goal
what
is
you want to eat.
yeah, your end goal is to make something you're gonna eat. I think the first time I ever did that was I made creme brulee in high school. And before you get all like uppity, that is probably the easiest thing you can make. That's fancy. It is literally just eggs and milk and sugar, and that's it. I promise you. The only thing that's like difficult is that like I guess it's the first time you have to learn about like certain processes, because you need to temper the egg, because like you heat
Yeah.
up the sugar and the milk, and then you have to like like put it, like drip it in instead of just putting it all in. That is the most difficult thing about creme brulee. After that, you take that batter, you put it in like little cups, or even when I did it, I didn't have that. I just made it in one big like creme brulee thing, and you just pop it in the oven, boop, put it on broil. That's it. Easiest thing you can imagine.
I don't know if I ever had that.
Creme brulee, it's literally and it's French for burnt cream. That's why it's one of those things that it just sounds awesome because it's French, but it's the easiest thing you can imagine.
I I don't know if I will have to try making that, but I will have to wait for someone to come here for a visit at my place or something like that, because I love to make sweets, but I can't eat much of them, and like I eat a few bites and that's it for me, and then I have like half of the yeah, half, almost whole cake in fridge, and like what am I going to do with it? And then I have to wait for someone to come or to go somewhere where there will be more people, and then I can make something. Otherwise, it
Oh my
goes
god.
trash.
If if we were neighbors, you would not have that problem. I scarf. What I will do is I'm telling you, like people, I don't think people take my serious tooth uh my what did I say that right? People take my sweet tooth as seriously as I mean it to be. I'm telling you, I consume sweets. I'm a child. I will make my thing is that I'll take like cornbread mix, and I'll put like walnuts and chocolate and like brown
Yeah,
sugar and all these,
everything nice.
yeah, everything nice, and I'll put it in, and I'll make it, and I'll have like a piece of it, and I'll be like, oh, that's good. And then like half hour later, I'll be like, yeah, we can do another slice. And by not even noon 30, that's gone,
It's gone.
gone, evaporated. Me alone. Nobody got to taste it. And of course, I'm telling all my friends, oh, I made this loaf. Amazing. Oh, how was it? It's like, oh, it was good. If you were around, you maybe would have had a bite.
No more, just to bite.
A bite. Yeah, I have in college, uh like this girl would make me a pot of cookies every single week, and I'm talking like not like a little thing. I'm talking about like a Tupperware, half full, and I'd piece them, all of them.
Well, of course you would. Do you have that moment when you cook something or bake whatever, and someone is trying that you're like
Yep,
just waiting for a reaction
yep,
to see if they like it?
yep. uh the very first time that I think that's the awesome thing about cooking is that at first it's all about sustaining yourself, right? You make
Yeah,
creme brulee because it's like, oh, I wonder if I can do that. It's like I like creme brulee, but at one point it eventually starts becoming kind of like an empathy thing. It's like I want to cook for the homies. Like
yeah,
I remember in college when we first start when we set up our first like Friendsgiving, like before you would have your Thanksgiving with your family, you would have a little
yeah.
like meal with your friends, right? And like I can't tell you how amped I would be to just like like get everyone together. We get like 2 bottles of wine per person, get like rowdy drunk, and then just like cook and just like eat the entire night. Like there was just something about it that was just like phenomenal, and just like cooking for your friends,
Yeah,
uh
that moment, how proud you get that all of you together that you managed to make that meal or something like that for a gathering. I love that moment to uh, hear Christmas or something like that. If I can go to be with my family or something, making meals and someone comes here and then you're proud that you made the meal done because we're all adults now
yeah.
and we should do that.
Yeah, and I love how it brings people together too. Like I
Yeah,
remember when I moved to California, and I'm in a new state, new house, new roommates. I don't know anything, and I get to talking to one of the guys that live there, and he's Dominican, but he's Dominican in California, meaning he's never had Dominican food. Like California's Mexican populated. That is the Spanish food you're getting there. You're not gonna find Ecuadorian food or some shit like that. It's Mexican food. So when I got there, I knew how to cook a little bit. So I was like, oh, dude, I'll show you some of our like culture food, and I would make like a big pot, and like serve the house. And I'm telling you, it took weeks for us to be just like dead homies, and just like, and again, I guess movies bring people together like nothing else, right? Because we would eat that, and
yeah,
then like go and watch like the latest Marvel movie and just geek out about that. And they were older than me too, so they would show me movies they grew up on. Awesome. It's just awesome.
yeah, yeah. That is great. Like it really brings people together.
Now one thing, and I kind of like a good segue from like the whole like cooking aspect of everything, is what is the future for Maya? Like, what do you plan on doing? Like, how do you plan on increasing? Like, what do you plan on doing with the book covers and within 5 years?
Well, right now, I'm actually learning InDesign, which is for layout design, so interior book design. So I really want to make a circle that if someone has a book and it went to proofreading and everything, they just give me the file and I finalize everything. Like you don't have to look for layout designer, for book cover designer, for this, for that. You just give me the book and you are good with every aspect of it. Like I do everything, not proofreading, but like anything, like placing everything inside where it's supposed to be and how it should look, and book cover design. So I just gave you files, and you can go and get it printed, and everything is done. That is my plan for now. And I really want to start dabbling a little bit in video editing, but
Oh
we
my
will
god,
see.
yeah, video editing is a whole
Yeah.
another
Oh,
beast in itself. What was
and
that?
illustrations.
Oh yeah.
There's that too.
I'm actually I'm starting this weekend into getting into a little more of like animation side, be able to take like the drawings and kind of like make add like a little
Make them move.
motion, give them a little something. um yeah, I mean, just that is going to be, and it's almost kind of annoying because I'd rather just be able to work more on like the arting and everything, but it's like with the YouTube and everything, and just like you need to have more just like pizzazz and little things like that, and just making like animated intros and outros, and just like little trailers, and especially
Yeah,
trailers
little
for the book.
interesting things.
Yeah, and uh for your end, it would be awesome because the video editing would also allow you to make like the trailers for people as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't plan to start doing it, but I it will take time, and usually I don't offer something when I'm not 100% sure that I can do it. So it will take some time, but in future, definitely, I really want to be able to do that.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, I honestly can only wish you the best for that.
Thank you
Uh,
very much.
yeah. Now, one thing that I'm gonna just leave off on, the last little thing I want to talk about was what is your it's a kind of two-parter question is what do you is your favorite work ever, your favorite book, like outside of Harry Potter, kind of like your more like mature, like what is your favorite work, and then what is your guilty pleasure work, like what is the thing that like you almost wouldn't want to tell people that is like my guilty pleasure is Fast and Furious for whatever reason. I love like highbrow movies, but I just love Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift. I don't know what it is. I can watch that movie almost anytime. It is just so horrible,
I
but I love it.
actually kind of have one answer for both of those questions.
Oh,
Because I actually, if I like something, I will bother people with it. I don't care if it's like guilty pleasure or anything. Like, you will know that I like that. I actually really love the Vampire Diaries and originals and those vampire werewolf stories. Those
yeah.
aspects, and
I
I really love watching that.
I had well, like I said, like I'm a huge like TV person, so like it's almost like more like a requirement if we're gonna get into like a relationship. So there was this girl that I binged the Vampire Diaries with, and I mean binge. I mean we knocked out that show. We would watch like 4, 5, 6 episodes a day. It was on. That's all.
Like,
That's all we
you
did.
just watch it.
Yeah.
Who's your
Uh,
favorite character?
Look, I'll be honest with you. I liked it then, but then like when I like just like matured, like I can't say matured out of it, but when it just wasn't that well for me. Although I always did like the lore of the originals. I'll be real with you. There was always something about the originals I liked a lot. So if we want to talk about favorite character, I think I like Victoria. Right? Victoria was the blonde original, the sister of Klaus.
Rebecca.
Rebecca. Yeah. Rebecca.
I really loved and still do one of my favorite characters there is Elijah.
Yes, Elijah is the brother of Klaus, right? He's like the other.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. Yeah, you see, I'm not lying. I was about that show. Trust me. Trust me, I was about that show.
Trust me, I watched it.
No, I watched it, and I remember I remember I was like the conversation people would have about like geeking about the originals, because I remember that was the thing, like the originals started being talked about in like what season 4 of Vampire Diaries, like around
Something
then,
like that, I think.
right? So I remember like what like we were just like geeking out about it with her. It was like, oh my god, because we both like again that was like both of our favorite aspects of it, like the idea that like there's like these new vampires, but then there's this
Yeah.
old original vampires that like I'm a huge lore nerd, like I love lore, so like what just the idea of like that like these guys have been around, and
Started it
girls,
all.
yeah, started it all, like they are the originals. I love that. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah, Klaus is actually one of those characters that is so despicable. Like,
But you eventually start just understanding
you
him.
really love him.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't hate him. So yeah, that is.
The only thing that I guess I didn't like about the show after like a point, like when I would try to revisit it later, like being single or whatever, is that it just felt like instead of being diving into the lore that I would like, they dived into more of like a high school romance thing. Like my thing of any TV show is if you were to plot it out and take every character and do like a Venn diagram of
Yeah.
like who they've been in relationships with, and if it's a thing that basically everyone has a turn with everybody, like oh, like this person went out with her brother,
Okay,
but
yeah.
eventually then we have a problem. And that show does like that exactly. It's like, oh well, this is the season they're together, and the next season they're together, and the next
They
season
like
they're
to mix
together.
it up.
Yeah, but like to me, it's not like a mix-up thing. It's like imagine that in real life. You go and you hang out with a friend, and you know for a damn well sure they've been fucking for like 2 years, and now you're with her. Like what? And the person they're with, you were fucking for like 3 years before, and it's just like, oh, now what? We're just gonna have a regular conversation? Nah, dude, that's
And
not how
I
humans
mean,
work.
Caroline
Oh,
birthed
Caroline's a great example.
children from her high school professor.
Oh my god. You know what was another
Like,
one?
you could think about this. Better don't think about it.
Exactly. Exactly. You don't want to. You know what's another one? And I'm almost embarrassed to say this one. Pretty Little Diet. No, Pretty Little Liars. Right?
I watched that. I was actually scared to watch that because
Because
uh,
they always had like, that weird ending scene that was like, oh shit.
yeah, and it's actually pretty possible to happen, you know?
Well,
Like stalker and everything like that, like sending messages, watching you and everything. That was scary for me. And like I watched it, but during the day.
yes. Again, I guess it's one of those shows that I guess like the writing of it was like so great, but then it just got like mixed up. Like it felt like every episode felt like a fashion show for those girls. Like the way they would
Yeah.
show up to high school, I was like, wait, what? You're showing up like that to high school. Let me
Well,
find you.
I didn't dress like that in high school.
Yeah. No one dressed like that in high school. They're coming out like perfect, like hair blowing in the wind when they walk through the door. It's like, dude, what?
Yeah,
They're
they're
all like
having the walk.
they're all like 25 and like talking to their 16. It's like, dude, what are you trying to convince me of? All the guys they're after like 30 with like beards. It's like, all right, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, okay, I agree with that.
But again, I guess it all comes together with writing, right? It's unreal
Yeah,
how much that even me being like a staunch opposite of that type of stuff, I can still sit back and like and find like things that I like it, and even binge the episodes endlessly. You know what I mean?
yeah, I
Good
know.
writing can
I know
really
exactly what you mean.
good writing can really drag you through the worst things ever. It's unreal.
Well, I actually love reading the books that are thought out really and written good because when I start reading a book, I'm not drinking water, I'm not eating, I'm not going outside until I finish that book. Like
Preach. Yeah.
I I'm not letting that thing down, and then I have to control myself when I read and how much I read because I forgot to live,
Mm.
and that can be a problem because we need water and food to be alive. So yeah, I have to control
So they
myself.
say.
Yeah, let's test that theory.
No, because I'm on the same boat. I mean, specifically, my thing is when working on something, I get lost. Especially, I mean, we were talking about it on Instagram. Like, like I'll zoom in so much that like I'll hit like a limit, and then like you'll get tied up on one little aspect. It's like, you told yourself that you were gonna go get lunch at 12:30. It's 12:30, and you're like, all right, well, I'll leave
Let me
after I
just finish
finish.
this.
Let me just finish this little thing. It's just like it's not centered the way I wanted to when I zoom out. Let me just zoom in real quick and let it think. Then you look back at the clock when you're done. It's 3:30,
Yeah,
and you
five
realize you're
hours too
like,
fast.
yeah, you realize you're like not hungry anymore. You're like like you're gotten to that point that your stomach that you almost like not even hungry anymore because you're so hungry that your stomach
Yeah,
just
I
like
know. I hate those moments.
it's holding like the white flag. It's like, nah, you know what? Whatever. Just die. Don't even eat.
Yeah,
Just die.
and in those moments, like you just take a bite, like you're scared because you don't know how you will feel.
Yeah. Oh my god. But again, just thinking back to like how it was with a 9 to 5, I'd rather this than that because I
I
remember I don't care what I was doing. The moment it hit 12, we're done. If I'm on the phone with a customer, go fuck yourself. Click.
agree.
We gotta go. I don't care about this. I don't care about it that much. It's lunchtime. This is my break.
It's like click.
Yeah. If the boss comes in, oh, it's like, hey, nice to hear you. Well, we'll talk later
Yeah,
when I'm back.
yeah,
Uh,
but I love this because with the job that we have and what we are doing, you know, like right now I'm at my apartment, but the next time I might be somewhere in the forest or on a beach, and I just need my computer and internet. That is it, and we can still have a normal conversation, professional and everything. That everything we talk about everything that needs to be talked about, but I can just be whatever I want to be. You know, I'm not. I don't have to go to office or something like that. I'm working where I want to work.
Yeah. And I
It,
guess yeah, I guess it comes up like a little bit of a nuisance. Like I have a trip. I haven't like gone on vacation for a while. I'm going on vacation in like June, and I just know for a fact I'm gonna be working. I know I'm gonna have my phone with me. I'm gonna have access to be able to do some writing. I'm gonna. I just know it. I know it.
but it's a good thing and a bad
Yeah.
thing. So, yeah.
And again, that ties into the beginning of the episode. Oh my god, I can't believe it. Everything just ties together. It's unreal. Uh, so we are at the 2 hour mark. I can't even actually past that. I didn't even. It felt like 20 minutes on my end.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
I
I'm
just saw the time.
yeah. It flew. It flew. I mean, I'm sure for you it's been like a bore. Just me rambling on forever. But for me it was like
No, I
20
actually
minutes.
had a great time, like time flew by like this.
Oh my god, it flew. To tell you, it felt like 20 minutes. I was like, oh my god, I probably need to wrap up now. Um, so on that vein, do you have I'm gonna pass it over to you. Final thoughts, last words. Where can people find you? Instagram, everything.
Yeah, well, they can find me on my Instagram, which you will add it in description,
For sure, for sure.
and or if you want, if they don't have Instagram or something like that, I will leave with you my email address, and they can contact me through that too. And in some future there will be a website, but currently there isn't. So through Instagram or my email, that is how they can find me. And don't hesitate, if you want or interested in working with me, just send me a message, ask all the questions you have. I will answer all of them gladly, and I will do my best to make you a perfect book cover in the future if it comes to that. So yeah, that's it.
And yeah, and make sure you do. All right. There's something that I have learned just for any person that's getting into this business. Always go with the person that has the passion rather than the person that has the quote unquote experience. I know that it seems like almost counterintuitive, but just think to like any movie that you've seen where like you have like one lawyer that's willing to work for you and really break their balls versus like to work with you versus like a huge partnership of lawyers that say they're going to work for you but could care. You're gonna call them
Yeah,
up and they're gonna answer back to you within like within 4 years. So is their notability worth being treated like crap? I don't think so. I think is it really worth you being able to say that you have the same cover designer as Stephen King if like that person takes like 4 years to work on your shit? I think you'd rather work with a person that is dead passionate about what they're doing, and not only that, but is passionate about your project and is like really into work. And I think Maya is exuberant of that, and
thank you.
I really think that's something that needs to be seen more in the industry. I mean, just again, everything is passion. If you find a person that actually really cares about what they're doing, I'd always lean on that. I could give a crap about experience. And again, not to overuse the word experience, but from my experience, uh, I, I just I've learned the lesson the hard way. Because you want to have that notability, you want to be able to say, "Oh, I have the same editor as Rick Riordan," but I'm telling you, most of the time he'd rather go with a person that actually gives a fuck because that Rick Riordan person just has, you know, they just have their things. Or, it could be a preference thing, but I'd always lean on the home cooked, right?
I actually agree with you because maybe you won't have some famous book cover designer or editor or whatever, but you will have a person that really cares about the project that they're doing with you and will go out of their way to give you the best possible result. So I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, and the email that you sent me is your professional email, right?
Yes, I will message that to you again, just in case, before
No,
you post this episode. But
well, for the people listening, that email is k dot Maja, which is, well, I should just spell it all out. It's k
Yeah.
dot maja dot 789 at gmail.com.
Yeah.
So one more time, that's k maya dot 789 dot at gmail.com. Recommend it. If you need the services, hit her up. Do what you got to do. Support the indie. That isn't it just indie authors. There's indie editors, indie book covers. There's all that. You got to support the indie, you know,
Artist.
exactly, indie artists. So with that, this is the end of the episode. Thank you, Maja, for coming on. That has been an
Thank you for
absolute
having me.
honor. Check with us when this episode drops. Make sure to check her social media, drop some likes, drop some comments. Make sure you gotta do what you gotta do. This is the end of the podcast. A.R.'s Tales, aka the A.R.T podcast. I am Amy Abad. This was Maja. Thank you, and check on us when we drop the latest episode on Monday. Peace out.